What if the fiercest warriors you've never learned about weren't just fighters, but entire civilizations shaped by survival, identity, and daily rituals that guided every heartbeat of their world? What if the real story of North America wasn't only written in battles and treaties, but in dawn fires, whispered prayers, and traditions passed from generation to generation, stories that history books rarely told? Today on Native Legends Uncovered, we open the door to that forgotten world. A world where courage was not only measured in combat, but in how people lived, loved, protected their families, and honored the land beneath their feet. Before we begin, pause for a moment and imagine this. If your life were forever bound to the earth, the wind, and the spirit of your ancestors, what would you do at sunrise? How would you choose to live each day, knowing the land was both your home and your destiny? The Comanche weren't born warriors. They were horse people, bound to their mounts so deeply that riding became the rhythm of their hearts. When European horses first escaped into the plains, the Comanche recognized something no one else truly saw. This animal was not just transportation. It was freedom. It was identity. It was destiny written in muscle, wind, and open space. Children learned to ride before they learned to fear the world, trusting the horse the way others trust the ground beneath their feet. At dawn on the southern plains, men and women mounted up as the sun lifted over the horizon. Blankets pulled tight against the sharp cold, hooves breaking the silence of morning. Horses carried food, families, stories, and dreams. They turned the Comanche into one of the most mobile cultures on Earth. Without the horse, Comanche life as we remember it would never have existed. Villages were never still. Tipis moved like constellations drifting across the land. Women prepared hides and meals. Men followed the buffalo herds, traded, negotiated, and read the language of the prairie. This was not just a culture of war. It was a culture of rhythm, of wind through tall grass, of seasons turning again and again. So when outsiders arrived, the Comanche defended more than territory. They defended the right to move because movement was life itself. Imagine midday in a Comanche camp. The sun hangs high above the endless plains, warming the tall grass and the steady rhythm of daily life. Horses graze freely nearby, while elders sit patiently in the shade, repairing saddles and tack worn smooth by long journeys across the land. Not far away, women work carefully with buffalo hides, shaping them into clothing, shelters, trade goods, and ceremonial garments that carry memory and meaning through the generations. Children run, race, wrestle, and practice riding. Their games are not random play. They build balance, instinct, courage, and the quiet confidence needed for the lives ahead. As the afternoon slows, storytelling circles begin to form around small fires. Elders speak of history and prophecy, of the earth, the sky, and the stars, passing down wisdom so that nothing is ever lost. This was not a society of mindless violence. It was a culture built on balance, between land and people, survival and gratitude, freedom and responsibility. And long before conflict came to shape the story, many relationships with settlers were built through trade, communication, and careful diplomacy. The Comanche world was layered, human, and deeply connected, guided by the land, the horse, the family, and the stories that carried identity forward through time. Now we turn northeast. The Iroquois Confederacy, made up of the Mohawk, Oneida, Onondaga, Cayuga, and Seneca, built their world inside great longhouses. These weren't just buildings. They were living symbols of kinship, shared ancestry, and community identity, stretching like wooden rivers across the forest floor. Life inside was deeply communal. Families were connected through clan lines, and those clans were guided by women, the land, stewards, and caretakers of lineage. Women often chose leaders, shaped direction, and protected the memory of the people. Men hunted, cleared fields, traded, and negotiated diplomacy, navigating relationships not only with neighboring tribes, but also with the European settlers arriving from across the ocean. Children learned responsibility early. They tended the Three Sisters' corn, beans, and squash crops that weren't just food, but sacred gifts of life, woven into ceremony, song, and thanks. The Grand Council gathered to settle disputes and coordinate shared decisions across the Confederacy. Their power did not come from horses or conquest. It came from unity, from the idea that decisions should be made slowly, carefully, and with the future in mind. Rituals shaped the year. Planting festivals, harvest celebrations, sacred dances, and ceremonies of gratitude. These were not performances, they were living prayers, connecting human life to the eternal cycles of nature, to the turning of seasons, to the breath of the earth itself. And in the glow of firelight inside the longhouse, stories and teachings flowed like rivers, reminding every generation that strength is not only found in battle, but in belonging. The Apache lived along the rugged edges of deserts and mountains, places where the land itself tested every step. These landscapes demanded mobility, intelligence, and a quiet kind of resilience. The Apache were not a single tribe, but many bands, families, and kinship groups connected by loyalty, marriage, and the shared need to survive in a world that could turn harsh without warning. Their food came from buffalo, small game, roots, and wild plants gathered with deep knowledge of the land. Their shelters were temporary and practical, moving with the seasons, because staying in one place for too long was rarely an option. Families were tightly woven units, guided more by trust and relationship than by a single central authority. That gave them strength. But it also meant that negotiation with outsiders was fragile, complicated, and easily broken. Daily life revolved around movement, tracking game across wide distances, finding water where others would see only dust and stone, and performing spiritual rites that tied them to the land, the sky, and the unseen worlds around them. Unlike the Comanche, whose identity flowed through the horse, the Apache became one with the land itself. Their strength was stealth. They struck with precision, disappeared into the mountains or desert brush, and endured where others could not. And beneath it all lived something deeper than warfare, a spiritual core that shaped who they were and how they moved through the world. Daily rituals carried a meaning that went far beyond simple survival. They were the invisible threads that held life together, shaping identity, memory, and the way each nation understood its place in the world. For the Comanche, the bond with the horse was sacred. A prayer whispered before the hunt was not just a request for success, it was a promise of respect. Man, animal, land, and spirit were bound together, sharing one breath beneath the endless sky. For the Iroquois, the longhouse was more than shelter. It was a living heart of community, a place where ancestral wisdom echoed in every timber beam, every woven mat, every fire that burned through the night. Inside those walls, families did more than live. They remembered who they were. For the Apache, every step across the land carried spiritual weight. Movement itself was part of tradition, guided by teachings, rooted in law, shaped by the land and sky. The earth was not simply ground beneath their feet. It was a teacher, a guardian, a living presence woven into their prayers. Their rituals were not ceremony for ceremony's sake. They were acts of belonging, ways of honoring the past, protecting the present, and guiding the future. They were caretakers not only of land, but of story, memory, and survival knowledge refined over countless generations. And in these daily acts, quiet, sacred, and often unseen, the true heart of their cultures lived on. So what truly connects these powerful cultures? It isn't just warfare. It isn't just survival. It is movement, the ability to live in motion, to follow the seasons, to listen to the land and let it shape every choice. It is connection to earth, to spirit, and to each other. A way of seeing the world where nothing exists alone, where animals, people, wind, water, and memory are all part of the same living circle. And it is the quiet strength of daily practice, the small, repeated actions that build identity over generations. Rituals, stories, shared meals, hands working beside one another. These acts formed nations long before borders ever did. These stories aren't only about conflict. They're about how humans adapt, how they endure, how they love, protect, and remember. even when the world around them changes forever. And across America today, in the names of rivers and mountains, in the rhythms of ceremony and song, in languages still spoken, and in the land itself, their echoes remain, not as ghosts of the past, but as living threads in the story of this continent. A reminder that identity is not built in a single moment, but across entire lifetimes, rooted in land, memory, and the unbreakable human spirit. What if the fiercest warriors were actually the most spiritually alive people on the continent? What if daily ritual, resilience, and deep respect for the land were the real forces that shaped history far more than conquest ever did? That is the legacy we honor here. Thank you for watching Native Legends Uncovered. Take a moment and reflect on this. What have your routines, your values, and your daily choices built in your world? Because if these tribes could shape destiny through the quiet rhythm of everyday life, then what future are you shaping through yours? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts below. And stay with us. We will continue uncovering the legends that history almost forgot.